Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for our Giro d'Italia 2024 preview, brought to you by Pillar Performance. This is our first Grand Tour preview of the year, Benji. I'm excited, even though expectations could in theory be low. We do have the shortest favorite going off that we've ever covered in a Grand Tour on this podcast, and maybe in a long time. Tadej Pogačar, obviously the elephant in the room. Nonetheless, as preparing for the show and all the drama as well, there's been some drama this week as well. Just reminding me that Grand Tours are different. They just have a different intensity, a different level of coverage, interest, and the only thing you can guarantee in a Grand Tour is that stuff will happen that no one expects.
Certainly, and when it comes to GC, yes, expectations might be low for the victory, but I will say, if the expectations are this low, that might mean we were up for a big surprise at some point. And the battle for the podium is interesting. There's riders involved in a top 5 fight that before this race, I would have never expected to be in a top 5 fight for a Grand Tour at this point. So that's the intriguing aspect of this Grand Tour. The GC start list isn't stacked. The sprinter start list is pretty stacked. I think Philipsen is not here, but basically half the entire sprinter world is here. So I'm okay with that. And there's also young climbers that might show up and take stage wins here and there that I'm looking forward to. So that's lovely. But before we jump into that, let's think back to last year, because last year had a pretty dramatic Giro, right? Because Remco taking the lead in week 1 through time trials, but also, well, he didn't do it through the hill stage, that's for sure. But through the time trials, got a lead on the others and so forth. Then COVID hit to him. He's out of the race. Thomas takes pink on the rest day, basically. And I'll be honest, we were not very positive about that Giro and the entertainment levels in the last 2 weeks, because
horrendous.
There was passive racing from the GC riders up until the final day, which was that Montelusari TT on stage 20, where Roglic blew everybody out of the water. Thomas wasn't as good as he hoped for on those steep gradients compared to Roglic, and Roglic took the victory. And what do you think? I don't know. Your thoughts onto that versus this Grand Tour?
Well, because that's right. Last year it was very, very tight, right? Which is what the race organizers want. They want it designed that way for tension. But at the end of the day, you need some racing. And that's what the Tour de France delivered that up until the TT. That was real racing and tight. But yeah, that sort of reminded me that, listen, can't get much worse than that last 2 weeks, the last year. So I think this year, there's some good stages in here when you look at them a bit closely. The sprint field, as you said, is unbelievably stacked. It's one of the best sprint fields in a Grand Tour in a long time. Especially one of the best in the Giro. Just having Milan, Merlier, and Coy, 3 of the best 4 is unbelievable. So I'm really, really excited. It starts in Veneria Reale, which is, I think, the outskirts of Turin. We have a hilly stage just to make sure that Poggi takes pink straight away. The next day he finishes on Europa, so if he doesn't somehow take it on stage 1, we got a soft uphill finish the next day before sprints. Some lumpy sprints on 3 and 4, although I think 5 as well. 6 is like a gravel stage. I don't know exactly. It's not that much gravel. It's a bit lumpy. 7 is the TT uphill finish. 8, we have Prati di Tivo. 9, another could be break. I still think there's so many sprinters here that climb well. 10 uphill. We haven't had one hard mountain stage yet, with more sprints as we go down to the coast. Another TT on stage 14. I think that's been length 31 Ks. The first one's pretty long as well. 15's the Livigno finish, and then it's like mountains in the Dolomites, which also apparently I've been told the Italian Alps are a thing, even north of Milan. Thanks for everybody letting me know. There's like a breakaway stage, 19, Monte Grappa Double, 20, and then the Roma finish, Benji. It's backloaded. The mountains are backloaded, Benji. There's like one sprint after stage 14, which is like stage 18. And Rome. What do you think of the route?
Well, when it comes to the route, I feel like we need to keep in mind, looking at the backloaded side of things, that yes, there's that TT on stage 14, but there's no time trials afterwards, which also means that the climbers with not that great TT know where they stand on stage 15. So it's not like there's a TT like last year on stage 20 where they might think, oh, I might be able to hold on because it's a mountain TT and I'm a pretty good climber. So, and therefore they might race passively like last year. Here I feel like they will know where they are, and therefore they will know what they have to do after stage 15 to become more competitive for whatever their goal is, whether it's podium, whether it's top 5, whether it's magically the first place in GC, who knows? So I think that vibe's pretty cool. Does that make the first week worse? I'm not necessarily thinking so. I think the first 2 stages will be pretty interesting. Like the fact that we're starting with a hilly parkour with an Europa on stage 2, that's pretty, I'd say, atypical. But then again, in the last few years, we've seen quite a few Tour de France starts, like the Basque Country one, where we had climbs in the first 2 days. So we're starting to see the different types of Grande Partenzas, Grande Pars of Grand Tours, which I do vibe with, because I'll be honest, it was great seeing the Denmark Grande Par for the audience, but the stage itself weren't exactly too memorable. So that's one thing there. And then if we look at the gravel stage, for example, at first sight, it looks like a relatively easy gravel stage, but then you look at the gradients of some of the segments in the last 30 kilometers, and I'm like, ooh, there's like a Muro up to 20% in the last 5 kilometers. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's going to be a bit harder for the sprinters than I initially expected it to be. So it's, I'm not the biggest fan of the parkour, but I'm also not against it. I'm like in the middle of it, to the point that I think the racers, the riders will decide how entertaining the race is, and therefore it will depend on how close each position is before each of these stages.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, it's there's some limitations to it, which we'll get into as well. But yeah, it's basically, instead of the slow start, it's like what the Tour de France has been doing, except for the Denmark Grand Depart. Like that, it's more like what they did in Basque Country last year. Like you start in the northwest in Turin, hilly with a sort of soft mount stage. South, mostly sprints and easy stages with a flat TT. You have one mountain stage in the Abruzzo region, which we saw recently. They don't go further south than Pompeii or Naples, and then you back up, and it gets progressively, much harder in the last 7 stages in the Dolomites, Italian Alps region, and also they're still on the border. There's a couple of stages on the border of Croatia or Slovenia, I believe. So might see a fair few Poggy fans out later in the race, but yeah, it's not the hardest Giro route. I would say there's a lot of snow that's been dumped in the last, like here, and not just there, but like if there's snow here in Andorra, then the snow and the weather in the Alps is normally like 5 degrees colder. So even the stages like the Stelvio, which they have in, I'm worried about them because the amount of snow that's been dumped so late is crazy.
Sorry, but that Stelvio being there or not, I don't think that's going to be decisive for GC, personally. I don't think we're going to see 150 kilometers solo. I'm afraid that's a dream that's not happening. So if the Stelvio drops out and we get another climb that's lower in between, it's probably going to be a break getting away on that climb anyway, is how I perceive it. But I do want to say that I do miss the mythical climb names. Does that make sense?
Well, like you think you're missing like the Mortarolo or
somewhat, but also, well, the Mortarolo is now in, right? In the stage true, that was supposed to go to Livigno, well, that is now going to Livigno, but was supposed to go to Forcola.
They put Mortirolo in.
Yeah, so it's not the real Mortirolo, but I'm missing a Zoncolan, for example. That kind of vibe. It was cycling history. The inner traditionalist in Benji is complaining, but we'll survive. What was
the guy that used to run the race? Zomanian.
I don't know how you just pronounce that, but
Angelo Zomanian.
Yeah.
That guy wake up, design you 260 Ks, 7,000 meters climbing with all those climbs you like. So maybe you need to petition him to come back, Benji.
We need one of those stages. Like stage 18 or something needs to be like a 250 kilometer 7 mountain stage.
We'll get into the stage-by-stage analysis in due course. But before we go through the favorites and all the teams, a word on our partner for this episode, Pillar Performance, which is a sports micronutrition company. So Pillar the easiest way to describe it is hydration and carbohydrate products will take you through to the finish line. Pillar's mission is to get athletes to the start line in the best condition over and over again. And you know that I've been trying to increase my training. If you follow me on Strava, you can see I've been taking it a lot more seriously this year, and taking Pillar's triple magnesium has been key for me in my sleep. Although Toby, my dog, I could also make some changes with him. He is like a disruptive nightmare, actually. But I've been taking triple magnesium from Pillar every night before bed, and it's helped with my recovery. You can see that in my Garmin body battery score. Actually, I started wearing that going to sleep just to actually track whether the triple magnesium would make a difference. But particularly, the biggest difference I noticed was particularly my muscle soreness in my legs. Whenever I'm like any walk or hike here or run here, you run down like 25%, 20%, and the muscle soreness is so bad sometimes. But the magnesium has helped a lot. And I'm now sort of converted for life, taking it, especially when I'm training hard. So if you would like to try Pillar today, head to pillarperformance.shop, or for North American listeners, head to thefeed.com/pillar and enter code ROUGE. That's all capital letters ROUGE for 15% off all first-time purchases. And yeah, I'd really encourage you to track it, test it out, try it, track it with maybe one of your measurables or wearables, and see if it makes a difference for your sleep and recovery. It certainly has done for me. The favorites, Benji, we've got to start with one. Tadej Pogacar and his UAE team. He brings, people have been calling it a weak team. Rui Oliveira, Mikkel Bjerg, Vergaard Stekelangen as the real flat domestiques, Micah Grosjean as the two climbers, Milano as a sprinter, and Domen Novak as the all-terrain vehicle. They call him the tractor. Were you surprised to see this team?
Not necessarily. When I do look at this team, I look at the parkour, and I get the feeling when it comes to the route that there's quite a bit of stages that have like that one final climb. You know, there's some climbs before, but we only really come to the multi-mountain stage in the last week, which even some of those have a lot of flat in them. So I don't necessarily mind there being quite a bit of flat domestiques in this team. And the reality is, if Poggi wants to go, he goes. And it doesn't really matter how many domestiques he has, as long as the team can thin out the group enough so that there's not 7 domestiques per team, then he should be pretty successful in attacking the group.
Can they, though?
I think Mike has a pretty good ride. I think Novak was extremely good at LBL. I think we shouldn't underrate those two riders. Grosjean had a good TT at Romandy, if I recall correctly. I don't vividly remember him in the mount. Was it Romandy? Yes, it was Romandy. Don't vividly remember him in the mountain stages, though. But I reckon Novak and Micah should be enough to thin out a group, to be honest.
What do you remember Domen Novak doing in the Vuelta last year?
Well, he's shown this year that he's shown form this year a lot better than then. So I'm basing it of what I've seen this year of the man. And Bjerg, in the early parts of climbs, has set enough tempo to thin out a peloton a notable bit before the climbing domestiques come into play. So I don't expect this to be a horrible team either.
It's not a horrible team. I was surprised, though, to see them bring a sprinter, Milano.
Yeah.
I thought they would have brought Finn Fisher-Black. I know Arietta's maybe too young, but I thought they would have brought someone like Fisher-Black as a climber rather than a sprinter. I would have thought Milano would do the Vuelta. There's also they could have brought Tim Wellens maybe. Yeah, I was surprised not to see a Fisher-Black, and also no Ulisi. It's the first Giro. He's out of the Giro team. I also thought they might bring him. He did like one of the highest level climb performances of the year on Pratitativo 2.5 weeks ago. So the reason I was also surprised to see Milano on the start list is because then are they going to be doing the Tour de France 2023 style operation that Vingegaard, Laporte and Van Aert did, where Rui Oliveira is not going to be helping Pogacar get to 3Ks to go? He's going to be the lead up for Milano.
I expect Oliveira to help Milano in sprint stages, looking at this team. And the likes of Starkelengen, I feel like he's also, it's weird to say, low-key underrated in what he's done in the last Tour de France, for example, because he showed up at the Tour de France and we actually had moments while watching the race where we were like, this is actually a very valuable domestique compared to what I had initially expected him to be for the team. So I trust this team enough to be able to bring Pogacar in a position that he can win the race, because reality is, in a lot of stages, other teams are going to do the work for them, in my opinion.
Yeah. That being said, I do not think this is not the team you bring if you want to win 8 stages and not let the breakaway win those third week mountain stages. I do not believe this team is can just chase the break on all those mountain stages.
Exactly.
Which I think is by design.
I think that's also okay, like you say, because there's enough terrain in the first week for Pogacar to make a significant gap on the outsiders in this race. Maybe 1 or 2 riders stay within reach or something, even though on Prato di Tivo, I expect them to just ride away into the happiness. But if I take a look at the stage like you mentioned, where we're looking at the last week, then there's mountains at the start of the stage where large breakaways can form, and that's what you're pointing towards. It's going to be harder for this team to control that, and I fully agree with that. And then it comes down to the opponents to try and benefit from those situations. But I gotta be honest, Ineos, who's also here with Thomas, with Arensman, I'm not sure I trust them to be putting Arensman in an early breakaway or stuff like that. I think if they're going to be on the podium and in the top 7 in GC, they're going to be like, oh, we got to keep our position passively. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't make sense to me, but I agree that might be the logic. They also bring Tobias Foss, Filippo Ganna, Jonathan Narvaez, who's just been back in Ecuador, and he's had a good spring. Magnus Sheffield, who wasn't up to scratch in Romandy, Ben Swift, and Connor Swift. So no Luke Rowe, no Puccio. So 2 stalwarts, Puccio and Ulisi, out of their teams. This also is very rouleur heavy with Swift's, Ganna, Narvaez. Foss is in between, I guess, kind of like Novak. And then Arensman and Sheff are supposed to be the climbers. Arensman, the last climber.
I don't know. With Foss, I lean more towards... Is it weird that I lean more towards a Björk version than a Novak version? Because I feel like I trust Novak more on the climbs this year than Foss. And
I think you're overrating Novak a little bit here.
Maybe I'm underrating Foss. Maybe I'm doing both. But when it comes to missing Puccio, I miss Puccio. I like to see Puccio at the Giro. I still vividly remember...
He's Italian.
Well, not just that. That stage 20 in 2021 where, was it Bernal won? He was really busy controlling the stage and so forth. Or was it 2022 for Carapaz where that failed or something? But he did a lot of work for the team, and on stages where I didn't expect him to even still be in the peloton, if that makes sense. And Ronald being here, still suffering from concussion, I'm guessing, so not ultimately surprising. And like you say, there's a lot of rulers in this team, but I remember peak Ben Swift. Was it 2020?
Hey, we heard about this when he was pacing on Zhao last year. Yeah, top 20 of the Giro or something.
Crazy. Anyway,
who missed out in this team?
Who missed out in this team?
Oscar Rodriguez. And
isn't he Carlos's friend at the Tour? Maybe.
Yeah. Jesus, fuck. He shouldn't be in it. Come on. In the Tour team. Let's be serious.
Hey, might be in the Aquadro contract.
I mean, Ethan Hayter or Bernal would be.
Imagine.
Nah, come on. It's not that bad. I think they're missing Bernal to be like a real dual threat. No disrespect to Arensman, but in Romandy, he wasn't on a dual threat level. And in Tirreno, neither. Yep. He looks more like he's a climbing domestique. But they've come out, Benji, the Ineos, with they got the second favourite. We'll say the odds in a second, but they got the second favourite, Thomas. Cummings, or the team has come out, I think, with a GCN article with Benson. They're going to race aggressively. We've heard this before. We'll do a little role play, Benji. Not the first time for you. New for us, maybe not new for you. A little role play. I'm going to be me/Satan. Maybe some people say that there needs to you don't need to make that distinction. Exactly. You're Steve Cummings.
Okay.
We're in the Garden of Gethsemane. All right, you're Steve, okay? Don't worry about it. I'll tell you later. You're Steve.
Okay.
All right, Steve. What do you most want in life?
Sit at the back of the peloton.
No. What do you want to get out of this race, Steve?
I want the podium with Thomas to secure my job.
No. That's wrong. You want to win the race. You want to win the race, Steve. What are you most afraid of?
I'm most afraid of the riders outside of Pogacar beating Thomas.
No, Steve. You're afraid of Pogacar walking up to Europa without any fatigue, or Praditio without any fatigue, and doing a 2-minute watt dump on Thomas and taking 30 seconds. That's what you're afraid of, okay? What have you done in the past?
Sitting at the back of the peloton.
Okay,
I'm being passive last year.
Here's what you're going to fucking do, Steve. Listen to me, all right? Listen up. Every stage with an uphill start, Aronsman in the break. Okay, don't listen to Benji saying Domen Novak is better than Pig, Kwiatkowski, and Kirienka put together, all right? Uphill start, Aronsman jumping with Chef and satellite riders, okay? They can't control it. Any stage with any altitude gain, look what you did in Romandy to Ayuso. Just pretend Ayuso, Pogacar, same person. Just pretend it's the same person, okay? Pace. Because if you come to Pratitativo, walk up to the bottom, Thomas against Pog, he's going to kill him. If you go to the Stelvio, if you don't pace that, he's going to kill him on the final climb.
But Satan, I'm looking at my team and I'm thinking, okay, Pogacar's a very good rider. Yes, I'm saying we're going to do aggressive riding, but reality is we're going into the last week with Thomas in a podium spot and Aronsman in the top 7 position, and we're going to try and get Aronsman in the top 5 while Thomas keeps his podium position.
I'll talk to Timon myself. I say, listen, you're going to pull until you can't pedal no more to make this race hard. If you fall out of top 10 GC, and listen, you're probably going to pace, if you pace the Grappa stage, you know what's going to probably happen? Pogacar's still going to win, and everyone's going to laugh at you and call you stupid. But I'm here to tell you that's okay. All right, the role play's over, Benj. Do you think it'll work or no?
I agree with your. I agree with Satan. This is weird.
We had to do
I agree with Satan that I'm not sure offering up Aronsman necessarily is the thing, but as in like pacing towards the end of the stage or something. But I agree with the fact that he should be trying to jump in moves early on with a tug buddy, even a mountain tug buddy if necessary, if that exists in this world, and try and launch it that way. Because like with Ganna, like Aronsman Ganna in a stage where there's a climb at the start, that can lead to trouble when it comes to controlling it. And we've seen in the past that this team, UAE, has trouble controlling breakaways. Poland is going to the Tour de France. Yes, they've got a relatively flat heavy team, which is maybe why UAE brought that flat heavy team. But I still think it's not good enough to control those stages.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, if Pogacar's 7 minutes ahead, who cares if you can't control the breakaway?
Exactly. That's the thing. But they're the two top favorites. The third favorite, Bardet. So Pogacar $1.22, Thomas $6.50, Bardet 17. So actually, Tiberi was initially the third favorite. Then I think people realized he can't climb. So him being third favorite for a Grand Tour is probably a little bit premature. So Bardet after Liège and Tour of the Alps is into the third favorite, 17. O'Connor, fourth favorite, 19. Tiberi, 19. His teammate Caruso, 21. Danny Felipe Martinez, 21. Autobrooks, 23. Probably the biggest fall from grace from where one might have thought, he'd be in the ranking. In January, Aronsman 29, Lipovic after his Romandy 51, and then it's Lutsenko who just moved in. So really, it's not a deep field. Like, I'm sorry, but Caruso's shown absolutely nothing this season. Tiberi's never shown he can be a Grand Tour GC guy, and they're both fifth and sixth in the betting. But on to Bardet. Hot take?
Before we continue with Bardet, hot take. I believe that Jefferson, Alexander, Cepeda of Caja Rural could top 10 this Giro.
Yeah.
Imagine a Caja rider top 10ing the Giro.
This is the sort of Giro, if you're smart and you're not that good, or like you're like a second tier like climber, you really go full gas from day one for 8th on GC, get yourself a nice contract for 3 years later on.
Exactly.
Seen
And
it before.
it's also the Grand Tour where, because of that, we are looking at riders that might normally go for a KOM draw. Like, normally in this race, you look at Storer and you say, okay, Michael Storer, look at KOM, look at stage wins. But reality is, he can't top 10 this race.
Yeah. Because he can just try.
Yeah.
Like, just try to do it. But guys who will be going for the podium more seriously, Team DSM Firmenich. I can't even find them on the... What color is their jersey?
White with blue with orange.
Oh, I kept looking for navy. Roman Bardet, they bring the informed Tobias Lund Andersen, who won about 6 stages in Turkey. Is he the lead out for Jakobsen, or is Jakobsen just a sweeper on his wheel? He's also here. Chris Hamilton, the loyal Mountain Domestique. Bram Velten's the lead out. Gijs Leemreizer, who put Van der Poel under pressure 2 years ago on the descents. The Narwhal, Julius Vandenberg is a ruler, and Kevin Vermaker, who is a sort of promising climber, who's, he's there or thereabouts. Good one-day racer as well. Kevin Vermaker, the American. So mountain support, it's Vermaker, Hamilton. It's not the best. It's mainly around Andersen and Jakobsen in the sprints, but it's a balanced team. GC guy, 2 sprinters. It's probably the best team they're going to send to a big race this year.
I also believe that when you look at this team, like, Bardet is not the kind of rider that needs 5 domestiques to be in position in a mountain stage and try and build on top of that. Yes, if he's in trouble, he might need someone to pace in front of him. But then again, Chris Hamilton, if you're in trouble, you're probably going to be dropped by outsiders or the GC leader anyway. So it's going to be a podium battle for Bardet. After LBL, I'm looking forward to see what he can do, because it would be really, really cool if Bardet can fight for a podium in his last Grand Tour or last year.
I think so. I don't know if
he's retiring, right?
I don't know if he's doing the.
He's doing the
tour. And so they're sending the 2 biggest riders, Jakobsen and Bardet, both to the Tour and the Giro. I expect Jakobsen to leave the race by the second rest day if he is doing the Tour de France, because really there is no point him doing that 3rd week. Anyway,
and you've got Andersen left there.
Exactly. So he will abandon. I actually almost surprised they kept him in. Frankly, did he win in Turkey? He won the first stage.
He won. Yeah.
I'll need to keep Luke updated. Luke needs to keep us updated on Jakobsen watch. I like Bardet. I really like the way he races. I really like Bardet. Decathlon Age Desert La Mondiale, the hottest team in the world at the moment. Bring Ben O'Connor as GC leader. Alex Baudin, the Paris-Panche, the PP brothers, Aurélien and Valentin as mountain support. There's the Baudin and those 2. Touze as a rouleur. Tranchant and Vendrame for the breakaways. Tranchant actually quite quick. He's a good breakaway rider. And Larry Warbass as the all-rounder domestique. And also he'll probably go for breakaways as well. This is... It all of a sudden, Benji looks like a really good team, because now we know these riders. We're like, Bastien Tranchant, he's pretty good. Valentin Paris-Panche, he can do a hard uphill lead out.
Yeah, true. And also, I just trust O'Connor, the PP brothers in the mountains. I think those riders in this field are viable. I think the only thing I hope for is that Paris-Panche and Paris-Panche, so the PP brothers, do support O'Connor properly, because O'Connor has a realistic bid at the podium here. So I believe that O'Connor could potentially podium this race. Whether I think he will, you will see at the end of this podcast when I do my predictions. But yes, he's not the best time trialist in the world, but he's a capable one, if that makes sense.
Decent,
and when it comes to the mountains, on paper, he should be one of the top 5 riders, definitely. If not the 3rd, maybe 2nd or 4th rider, depending on the day. So I like this team. I'm looking forward to what they perform, because they've also shown some guts when it comes to doing strategies that you might not expect from teams. Like, for example, on Jebel Jais earlier this year. That shit you don't usually see on Jebel Jais.
That was great, yeah.
I want to see them do this again.
And do you think, though, I think the Paris-Panche brothers are actually quite loyal to O'Connor. Do you not think Aurélien Paris-Panche, he won stage 4 ahead of Leknesund on that's not Spanish, on Lago Laceno, I don't know, last year. Should APP just be chained to O'Connor all race?
he can also get opportunities in a breakaway, like a breakaway where Arensman should be in, for example, that kind of breakaway that might make it to the line to the point that if the peloton catches up with O'Connor, then he can still help O'Connor, if that makes sense. So I'm looking at situations in those harder mountain stage where he can be a satellite rider that could hunt for stages. So I see there's opportunities for both. Depends on how close and how realistic a second position in GC or a third position in GC is for O'Connor, which I find realistic right now.
Yeah, podium. I mean, podium. He's really right on there. Next team is Bahrain Victorious. Bit of drama with this team. They bring Tiberi, who was third in Tour of the Alps. Rainer Keplinger as sort of an all-rounder. Bauhaus, the sprinter. Pasqualon, Sutil in the lead-outs. Caruso, the second GC leader. Zambanini and Torsten Trein Mountain Domestique. Zambanini, he did come second in a Basque Country sprint. But he's replaced... Pardon?
He's not really a pure sprinter either. Like, he's in that Basque Country sprint, it was the Quinten Herman stage. So he's got that uphill kick. But I swear he was top 3 in the mountain stage of Tour of Antalya around Piganzoli somewhere. So he's not a terrible mountain domestique either, like a mid-tier mountain domestique, I'd say right now. So
he's worse than that.
I think he's a very viable rider all around. And the thing is with Keplinger, he was really good at Valenciana, but then kind of dropped off because I swear he was top 10 in Valenciana.
So Zambanini replaces Pouls. Don't know what happened there. There's always politics going on, but it sounded like Pouls wanted to go to the Giro. Yeah, and he got kicked out of the team. Makes absolutely no sense because I agree. Zambanini's a nice rider, but I'm sorry. In the breakaways, I would rather have Wout Poels in some of these mountain break. Wout Poels can win he can win a flat sprint. He beat Remco in a flat finish last year.
I think you're even underrating him. I think he has just as much chance as Tiberi and Caruso to end up in the top 7 of this Giro d'Italia.
Yeah. He'd also be their best mountain domestique. Should they be in GC? I mean, look at him on
He should be a co-leader.
I actually can't believe they kicked him like they did. He's not in the team.
Disrespect.
I think he gave some articles some quotes in the Dutch press saying he was a bit surprised. Like he basically didn't expect, he expected to go in the Giro and he's like suddenly not on the team. I mean, this guy won the Tour de France stage last year, huge watts on the Betex. Won the Vuelta stage then, stage 20. Okay, pulling on Angleroo for Landa on the same Vuelta. And then the next Grand Tour, I'm very surprised, but listen, it's their own problem. Because if they think maybe I'm underrating Tiberi, Benji, but honestly, you already said it. I don't see it with Tiberi. I'm sorry, but no offense to Juanpe, we love El Patron, but El Patron was outnumbered on 6-7% climbs. Tiberi's got 10 kilos on him, and Juanpe was stronger than him. Juanpe was actually attacking him, saying, "Let's go, buddy. You want to go? You want to dance with the El Patron?" And like, if you can't drop Juanpe there, then you're not podiuming this race.
El Patron cannot top 5 this race. No. He has a 9th, 10th position, in my opinion, in this race. And Tiberi's actual quality next to the climbing, his ability to come closer in GC will probably come from the time trials. Because that's where I truly believe he can get time on the likes of Lopez, on the likes of, I don't fucking know who else cannot TT in the... on Bardet. He'll take time on the likes of Bardet, on the likes of Rubio, if you consider that a GC rider for some reason, stuff like that. So that's how I think Tiberi can lock himself into a position of top 10, maybe lean towards top 5 if he stays consistent, but we haven't seen that consistency yet this year. So that's where I'm not necessarily the true believer is how I see it. But another team with drama is Bora. Because we're looking at Bora Hansgrohe. We see the team of Daniel Felipe Martinez, Giovanni Aliotti, Jonas Koch, Florian Lipovic, Ryan Mullen, Maximilian Schachmann, Danny van Poppel, and Patrick Gamper. And Gamper's actually been relatively okay this year. Danny van Poppel and Mullen were part of the sprint train with Welsford, Welsford didn't perform in Tour of Turkey. Van Poppel did perform. Mullen was relatively okay there as well. The question then is, do you still send a lead out to this race that might be able to get a top 3 position in stages, Van Poppel every now and then in sprint stages? you can do that. But it's difficult, because on one end, you're thinking, okay, it's not their fault that Welsford wasn't at the level they were expecting him to be going into the Giro. So do you blame them and punish them outside of the Giro d'Italia team, which they've been preparing for so far this year? Maybe not. But then again, Van Poppel might be needed in the Tour de France to position Roglic, which is also an aspect that exists there. And I'd argue that Mullen could be very useful in that race as well. And then when it comes to the mountains, Martinez, Lipovic has shown in Romandy he's fucking good, but can that be repeated, that's a word, in the Giro d'Italia on a consistent basis to the point that he can be part of GC? We don't know yet. So that's one thing we need confirmation on. Martinez is not a very consistent rider. His last consistent Grand Tour was in 2021 in the Giro, where he was supported for Bernal and finished top 10. So that's also quite risky. And the extra drama on top of it is that Emmanuel Buchmann, good old Emu, comes out with a post on Instagram saying, "Oh, I was promised at the start of the year co-leadership, and my shape is good, the training's been going well, and 16 days before the start of the Giro d'Italia, I'm being told that I'm not even part of the selection of the race. Hashtag Band of Brothers. Hashtag
That's a sarcastic hashtag, no? Hashtag Band of Brothers.
Of course, but I have multiple takes on this.
Yeah, so
but I'll let you go first.
All the comments were split too, weren't they? I was actually surprised to see half the comments were like, "That's a real shame. You shouldn't be treated that way." Half the comments were saying, "You're washed up. Why are you complaining?" They were. I was actually really surprised to see that. And I think my take on this is that the team they're bringing doesn't really make sense. So Gamper was good in Alps. Okay, breakaway is fine. But you bring a lead out with no sprinter. No, there's no Meus. I'm sorry, Van Poppel couldn't win in Turkey against who, Benji?
Lund Andersen and Jacobsen.
Giovanni Lonardi. He had to deviate to stop him winning.
Fair.
Okay, so now we've got Merlier, Milan, Coy, all the boys. So that there. Secondly, he and Mullen need to be in the Tour to stop Roglic hitting the deck. So that's point number 2. Schachmann, good in Basque Country, absolutely fine. He should be going. He's good. Aliotti then, and Martinez, he's fine, he's good. Lipovic, of course. Now, the other thing, the reason why I also thought Bookman posted is because Leonard had a terrible accident and he's recovering, but there's been some positive reports recently, thank God. But Leonard's out. He was going to be going to the Giro as a GC leader. Then Welsford's out. So now there's 2 spots gone. And so they're taking Aliotti and Jonas Koch. And this is where the comments not abusing Bookman, but saying you're watching. Like, okay, has Bookman performed up to his previous 2019 level in the last 3-4 years? No. Is Jonas Koch a much better rider than Emmanuel Buchmann when they already have, I'm counting, 3 super strong rouleurs in the team? No. And Aliotti, I'm sorry, but he's not that good either. So to then send a guy, he's on Teide, straight after Basque Country. He goes straight up there, thinks he's doing the Giro. For some reason, it's not, he believes he's co-leader. I mean, I don't know if that's him delusionally thinking that, or if they told him that, then that's insane. And then you just flick him when there's clearly spots in the team for him. There is clearly space in this team for him. That's why I think he's mad. If Leonard is there, if Welsford is there, and then Lipovic comes in Romandy and just is so good, and they say, "Listen, Emmanuel, like, I'm sorry, but Lipovic has to go instead of you," I think it's more palatable. But when they take Aliotti and Koch instead of him, then it's not.
Yeah, I agree with your take. I will also add on to that the one thing I don't understand is that I vividly remember Aldag or someone in management when it comes to Bora coming out and saying the words that Daniel Felipe Martinez and Kemna were going to be co-leaders at the Giro d'Italia. That's before the Kemna crash. So there was no talk about Buchmann being co-leader in that discussion. So for it to be news to Buchmann that he's not co-leader is surprising to me because it wasn't news to me. On the other side, they might have said, "Oh, we promise you a free element role, a free role where you can do what you want," which Buchmann might have filled in. "If I'm in form, then I can be a co-leader in this race." He might have filled it in like that. That being said, I think the team probably made a mistake in promising Buchmann something as a co-leadership or free element, if that is the case, based on his 2023 season, because I still believe that you got to work for that if your 2023 season just isn't that great, but it's not Buchmann's fault. But the most important thing is, it sounds like the team didn't manage Buchmann's expectations well in the lead up towards his Giro d'Italia. And that's something we've seen before, because I swear we've had this
every
story
year with Broe.
Ackermann, Bennett. It keeps happening. So Broe has a repeated consecutive event that is fairly similar every single year. And I swear it's always a Giro as well.
I swear they're trying to be like, they're like, we're going to be smart. We're going to tell 10 guys they're doing this race. They all go prepared to altitude like they're going. And then we're like, we pick the 8 with the best data.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, but Buchmann's a long-standing member of the team, man. He also like came fourth in the Tour de France. And I don't know. It does. Yeah, but other riders look at this, Benji. I know I agree. Like, on the other hand, this guy's probably made 10 million euros since 2020 on this team. Or around there, maybe less. For nothing. And we have joked many, many times that he's been very selfish.
Yeah.
And so in a way, it's also maybe a reflection of that they're thinking, well, actually, if we tell Giovanni Aliotti to just pull and kill himself for Danny to come fifth, he'll do it. Emmanuel, we're not as sure. It might be that, but, okay, so there's that side, but also, like, he is a long-standing member of the team, a senior member, and to have him on the mountain like that and then flick him, I don't know.
Yeah, and some people are then saying, 16 days before the race, that's still pretty far. That's not really true. If you're preparing months for a race that you're expecting to go to in a free roll or co-leadership, if that was the promise, then 16 days before the race, after Kemna's already dropped out due to injuries, after the team has changed so significantly.
That's the kicker, I think, yeah.
That, I agree. That's the one where, would there even have been place to begin with for Buchmann, knowing that all these riders have been dropped out, like Welsford, like Kemna? Yes, Lipovic might have worked his way into the team. That's something we don't necessarily know. But that still leaves me with the taste of, I don't believe there would have been space for him either way.
Yeah. Anyway, that was some drama on Monday morning. He posted on Instagram that, and anyway, they'll be going for sprints with Van Poppel, breakaways maybe with Schachmann and Martinez for GC, or maybe GC Lipovic is alive. Maybe he's the only one that can beat Pogacar.
You got to try it.
You got to try it. I mean, Lipovic deserves to be there, evidently. Visma Lisa Bike, Christophe Laporte in for Van Aert after his injury as the last man for Olav Koy. Jan Tratnik, Attila Valter, and Kjan Uterbroeks, as well as Eduardo Affini, Koen Bowman on the provisional. So it's now a pretty good lead out. Affini, Laporte. It's not like a long HTC Columbia train, but it's solid, and it's more than solid, I would say. Geesink, sort of for the flat control if need be, and then I would say breakaways for Tratnik, Valter, and Bowman. And then Uterbroeks will do his own GC.
Yes, and he started off the year okay. Like, Gran Camino wasn't a horrible performance. If we look at Kjan Uterbroeks, obviously
it wasn't
afterwards. Camino is a good enough start because it's not something you prepare for, in my opinion. Tirreno was the one where I expected him to be a slight bit better, because getting 7th behind Arensman, I'd expect him to be at least on level or higher than Arensman at the end of that race. And especially Catalunya, he just wasn't good. So I don't know what happened at Catalunya to make him perform that way, but I can't believe he did the odds that he did at Tirreno or in the Vuelta last year at these races. So I'm looking at, will he be able to reconvene those powers in his legs to be able to push those watts on the mountains that come in this Giro? I don't know. His time trial, still relatively abysmal. So he's going to lose a decade in those time trials, I think.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, okay, what is realistic for Uterbroeks? And I think the white jersey is not out of reach. Arensman is probably the favorite for that. Lipovic is competitive, but Arensman should be better.
Yeah, I feel like Uterbroeks is kind of like Rodriguez. I think they're quite similar riders in that the Grand Tours, as the weeks progress, they the harder the stages, the attrition. I feel like they're more a pure GC rider, and I think the 3 weeks, as you said, Benji, suits him more than an explosive 1 week race. But you mentioned like the TT is the huge problem. He lost a minute 10 to Ayuso in 10 kilometers in Tirreno. A minute 10. Yeah. So he'll be losing. He could be losing 5 minutes in the TTs. Yeah. 5 minutes. But across both.
That also offers opportunities for breakaways in the photo week and the hardest stages.
That's the way I see, right? I think he's got to backdoor this. He's going to lose a shitload of time, but it's actually better. It's almost better to lose 7 minutes than 4. You don't want to lose 4 minutes. You want to lose 7 to 8 minutes. Then you go on Stelvio into a breakaway that gets a huge gap, and then you backdoor yourself a podium. But then people start pulling to protect a podium, obviously. But I think that's the way I think he needs to Pinot this race, like Pinot last year.
But I will say, even if it's 4 minutes or something, I think it's still viable to get in breakaways because you're not racing against a Tour de France Visma control team. You're racing against a Giro UAE control team, which we've already mentioned isn't.
Yeah, but the PP brothers will pull.
Yeah, the PP brothers will pull, but are they going to pull an entire valley after a 15-man breakaway that they want to be in themselves?
To protect the podium, absolutely yes.
Mate,
as you two are, they started pulling that stage to move from 11th to 9th with goal. No, from 13th to 11th. But
is podium even realistic right now for Kian Uiterbroeks with what we've seen this year?
Yeah, for sure. How old is this guy?
With what I've seen this year, I'm not sold yet.
He's 21.
Especially with the time trial.
The time trial, of course, is really bad, but he's 21. He came 8th in the Vuelta and 5th on the hardest mountain stage with a much better GC field. Much better GC field. So I think
what I see.
Podium is realistic, but he'd have to go crazy in the mountains and be much better than what he showed in Catalonia. But I mean, we've spoken a lot about Coy. Really, the spearhead of this team, Benji, about Uiterbroeks, the spearhead of this team is Coy.
Yeah.
Probably top 3 sprinter in the world. He probably going for Maglia Ciclamino as well. He's second favorite for that. In fact, Milan is first favorite for Ciclamino. I was a little bit surprised to see that. I thought it'd be the other way around. But I think the one thing they're missing, Benji, clearly is a mountain domestique.
Mm-hmm.
No disrespect to Walter. He's more of an all-rounder who climbs very well. But Kelderman out, I think, as well. If Uiterbroeks is close, then they're missing Kelderman. And also for the breakaways, say these third week stages, say Walter and Tratnik getting a break, Benji, but they're there with Zana and Caruso, they're not going to win, in my opinion. I feel
think it depends on the day.
Yeah, okay. True.
I think it depends on the day and what kind of parkour it is. On the difficult mountain stages, I see it pretty difficult to make it happen as well. But I will say, the way I see Coy winning sprints is through the power of his lead out and the difference of his lead out compared to Merlier. Because on paper, Merlier is the fastest sprinter of the two.
Yeah, Merlier is the quickest.
So it's got to be a situational advantage that the lead out must bring him versus Quickstep bringing it to Merlier. So that's where I'm looking at there. And I think Laporte is a good enough lead out. He's made mistakes in lead outs in the Tour de France for Wout van Aert in the past, but this ain't no Tour de France field when it comes to lead outs, I would say. Sprinters are there, but I think this team should be able to pop out when it comes to lead outs because Affini's fucking good, Laporte's fucking good, Coy is fucking good. I still feel like for the lead out, is it weird that I miss a fourth rider?
Yeah,
I think he can probably do the work for everybody, but
it depends. But also, it's the same thing with other teams. You know, who is bringing a really long train? The answer is actually Alpecin. Their team's not decided yet, but they have like Edward Planckaert, Timo Gierlich, like Hermans, Janssens, Van den Bosch, and Bayer for Groves. But they're not. I don't know if Groves they haven't decided yet, but they might have the longest train. They did in the UAE tour. As well, but you're right. If we move to Merlier's team at Quickstep, Czerny, Geert, Lamperti, Merlier, Seri, Van Leerberger, Van Servenant, and Alaphilippe, and they have made a late addition. they, instead of just Cherney and Van Leerberger for Merlier, they brought Lamperti in, which I think is smart. And that's to be a lead out clearly for Merlier. And maybe Lamperti can go for like the gravel stage. Alaphilippe actually looks in really good shape.
Yeah.
So Alaphilippe in Romandy looked very, very good. He is for breakaways and trying his best on sort of the stage 1 type operations.
Please, Alaphilippe, go for puncher stages like stage 1 and then go all out for Maglia Azzurra. That would be fucking fire.
True, and he was climbing well in Romandy, actually. Like, if you look at where he finished on... I swear one stage he was climbing, I was like, oh, Alaphilippe's still here. So he looks pretty good. But yeah, Merlier...
Mason?
Yeah.
Or Monaco, one of the two.
I think he gave up in the end. But again, it's not the longest train either, Benji. Like, for Merlier. And I think they're going to be trying to move up late like they did in UAE, but that's more difficult in the European Italian roads. Other sprinters, Biniam Girmay with Calmejin, Colleoni, Mattis Mikkels as a lead out, Petit lead out, Dion Smith lead out, De Poter and Roel van St. Martensdag. So they actually have a longer train, but they've really struggled to position Binny in the past. I actually don't see many stages for Binny here, Benji, like in 2022 against Van der Poel, actually, because some of these stages are not as, the Naples stage is not as difficult. So Binny has to really perform in the bunch sprints. And
I think the gravel stage fits him well because the parkour doesn't look super heavy, but there are steep pinches in there. Like I said, in the last 5 kilometers of that gravel stage, we'll go into them later. Gradients up to 20% on that Muro. So we're looking at something there. And I still think there's a few of those. Like, what is it? Stage 12 or something is quite hilly as well, which could be a breakaway stage. Those kind of breakaways, like the Napoli one, he needs to be in. But like you say, there's not that many. So the chances are slim. And there's a lot of riders like that will want those opportunities. And to be honest, I'd rather see him here than at the Tour de France anyway. So here he's got a realistic chance of at least competing for stage wins in the Tour. I just don't see that when it comes to Biniam Girmay at the moment. And it's fairly similar with Laurent Spiffy on Groupama. It's weird. He's on a similar category, I would say, because his sprint is good. He's obviously a goddamn good classics rider right now, but he's also still that versatile sprinter in my head. I don't see him winning a flat sprint against Jonathan Milon and Temar Lira on paper. So I'm looking in the same way at Laurent Spiffy. And there, my question is also, stage 1, we haven't spoken about it yet, and it has quite a bit of climbing. Will a stage like that be too hard for Pitti? I think it's the limit.
Yeah, depends who's kicking it off as well. A little trek bring Milan, Baggioli, Consoni, Gebregs, Gabia, Darnola, Juan P. Lopez as road captain, Jasper Sturva, Edward Turns. This is probably the best full train in the race with Darnola, Sturva, Turns, and Consoni. They have 4 dedicated riders for that role. Juan P. Gebregs, Gabia for the breakaways. Ciccone, I think, was supposed to be doing this race, and he would have been there sort of climbing figurehead, but he obviously had the surgery on the cyst, and so he can't make it, unfortunately. So they sort of have Baggioli for the breakaways or that stage 1. I mean, who knows? Like, if anything we know about Andrea Baggioli is suddenly on stage 1, he'll be there in the wheel of Pogacar, and we'll be like, where the fuck have you been for 6 months? But Milan is the favourite for Ciclamino. He's Italian. He's looking very, very good this season. He's the big Hulk, Kittel-like sprinter, and I'm really, really excited, and it's a big goal for them, obviously, to see how they go. And they couldn't have brought... This is their best train, frankly. So they've invested in him.
Yes, it's their better train, but I think Alex Kirsch does a lot when it comes to sprint trains.
True, Kirsch, good.
So I think that's the one missing character. But then again, he's also mangled with Pedersen, who will probably do the Tour de France. So that's their train there. So they have to mix it up a little. But this is one of their best trains that they could have sent. And this is definitely one where Milan will be competitive in multiple stages, will probably win multiple stages, and will be fighting for Ciclamino, which he has a realistic chance of winning. Again, he won last year, right?
He did indeed on Bahrain. I'll speedrun some other sprinters. Team Jaco Alula, they bring Ewan with Hepburn, Mezgez, Valscheid as the lead out. They also have breakaway options in Demarchi and Zana, GC, Eddie Dunbar, and Luke Plapp will be trying their hand at that. Movistar bring Quintana for breakaways. He says he's not in good enough shape to go for GC. I would agree with that. Albert Torres, Chimolai, Milese, Peleo Sanchez as the lead out for Gaviria. Actually, not a bad lead out. Some of those guys are quite good. Barter okay, they're not Laporte, and I agree, but it's the best. It's actually the best Movistar. They bring a lead out. Rubio and Barter for the mountain breakaways. Israel Premier Tech bring Michael Woods, who's not looked good this season at all. He didn't even do Flesh alone. Simon Clark, who nearly won the stage last year with Demarchi on a sprint stage from break. Marco Frigo, who was always in the break last year. Hofstetter, Pickrell, Nadav Reisberg, Schultz, Nick Schultz, who won stage 1 of Catalunya, and Ethan Vernon as their sprinter. So they got a lead out for Vernon, or maybe Hofstetter sprints alongside him. I thought the Israel team would be a little bit better. I feel like it's missing some climbing. There's no Riccicello, there's no Derek G, there's no Berwick. It's it's kind of Schultz, although Schultz was good in the Tour de France in 22. So that's that. Tudor Pro Cycling bring Trent in for Dainese. They obviously won with Decline. Frodovo, Camp Krieger, Meyerhoff, Astora, Stork, so they have a lead out as well. No Ava Decline. Luke, please react. No Ava Decline in Tudor's biggest race of the year. Why is he not here? The Dutch sprinter who won them their first World Tour race in the Pyrenees sprint with this very lead out. They've replaced him with the Italian. I want to get Luke's reaction. He says, no clue. I believe he said in our group chat yesterday that RCS should have paid Decline to come to this race, not Pogacar, even though probably Decline would have OTL'd the first stage and got dropped on every single sprint stage with a highway ramp. But don't tell Luke that. Any other teams I've missed, Benji? There's Bardiani, of course, and Cofidis.
Bardiani, of course, with Pellizzari.
He's nice. Yeah, he's nice. Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning. Pozzo Vivo's here, but he hasn't been shining again in the VF group. Bardiani shows like 10th in Giro d'Abruzzo. This is not shouting top 10 at the Giro for me, to be honest. And when it comes to Cofidis, they are here.
Not their best team either. Yeah. Astana bring their best team possible. They bring Velasco. He's very, very good in sort of medium breakaways. Ballerini and is the lead out for Kanter. Kanter just won in Turkey, I think. Mulubrahan for breakaways. Pronsky was climbing well in Turkey, actually. He climbed okay. And Scaroni, I really like. He will go in every breakaway possible. And then Lutsenko and Fortunato for GC, maybe. Lutsenko as well. There's one man who can take on 3 UAE riders surrounding him and emerge victorious. It's Alexei Lutsenko, which we saw in Giro d'Abruzzo and Prati de Tivo. He returns to the scene of the battle where UAE were defeated. And Vino has brought the UAE destroyer Alexei Lutsenko for...
Fun fact.
Yeah.
I'm gonna break you up because I just had a direct tweet from Martin Arensman saying Damon isn't the protected rider or leader this year. His role is domestique in the mountains, and he will probably let the classification run in the first few days. That would be so fucking stupid.
Yeah, they should just do it like Koos.
Yeah.
Just do it like Koos. What he does.
Don't lose time in the next first few days because you're domestique.
No, don't lose time on purpose. Never lose time on purpose.
You're stupid.
Do your best TT possible, and then when you jump in the breakaway on TiVo after the TT, you're a threat. But then if you get to the third week and you got to pull to exhaustion and lose places to help a teammate get a podium or something, then yeah, do that. Don't lose time on purpose. It's pointless, especially when he's the Arensman. Listen, Arensman he's been riding well this year. Tirreno, he was good. Yeah. He was good in Tirreno. So
and
they got to keep him in GC.
Why would you throw away a second rider in the top 10, which they never do? The Ineos never do this.
It's also the only card they have against Poggi. It's the only thing UAE won't have.
It makes zero sense to use that threat. So what?
No. I think he's more just saying G is the guy and Aaron's in the hierarchy.
Yeah, but I don't see it.
Okay. Benji getting live reactions on the ground. That's everybody except for EF Education. They got Carthy Cepeda, who might win a breakaway stage. Carr as well. Chavez, Honore, Steinhauser. They'll be in the mountain breakaways. It's actually a really good breakaway team for the mountains. And maybe Carthy will try his hand for a top 10 in GC. I know we've gone a bit long there, Benji. Time for us to get in the stages, I think.
Yes, it is time to get in the stages.
Analysis.
Looking at these stages, we said it already. We're starting off with with a pretty banger first two stages. The first stage is what you would call a puncher stage, is how I look at it. And it's not the longest stage. 140 kilometers goes from Venaria Reale, like you mentioned, to Torino. And we see some climbs that we remember, like Superga is in the middle of the stage, but it's the easy side. That's the finishing climb in Milano Torino, if I recall correctly. Colle Maddalena is in the last 30-ish, 25-ish kilometers. And that is a climb of 6.1 kilometers at 7.4% average with a max of 12%. So that's a hard enough climb, in my opinion, for Pogacar to get away.
No, you're not attacking that. It's a stage race.
It's possible. It's possible. I'm saying it. He should.
Nah, I don't believe it. I don't believe in it. Because then
regardless of whether he gets away, he will be the favorite in the sprint afterwards.
But there's another climb afterwards.
Yeah, mate, it's tiny.
It's like 1.3k, 10%, no?
Yeah,
it's a hard climb.
It's hard enough for him to make the difference to you, but I want some azione.
I don't believe in it. Especially before Maddalena, 100Ks, it's not that hard. I don't believe in it. But maybe he'll want to do that. I think this stage will be Pogacar attacking on the final climb and get Grosjean and Micah to do a super hard lead out. He'll punch away and probably win the stage because there's no time to catch him back up. There's no flat after that climb. And also we saw on a punchy sort of 5-minute climb like that there's really no one that can touch him at the moment. So except Stevie Williams.
Is where you wanted peak Alaphilippe.
Exactly. The peak Alaphilippe can follow and or drop Poggy on that. Like peak Alaphilippe, we saw in Worlds, although Poggy's improved since then. So yeah, hopefully we're hoping for peak Alaphilippe, hoping for Baggioli. What about the Pithies and
sorry, but Baggioli,
don't be surprised. What about the Pithies and Laporte of this world?
I just think the combination of that Colle della Maddalena, which is proper climbing for like 7.1 kilometers, combined with that Bivio di San Vito climb in the last 4-ish kilometers, I think that's gonna be too hard. That double up of it, because if it's just
no
the first
time to come
one,
back.
And I think that's the vibe I'm looking at. So I don't see it. For me, Pogacar wins the stage and is in pink.
Yep, but I guess I'm not allowed to pick the same rider, even though I agree with you. So I'm going to go with fuck. I would have picked Wout Poels actually, but Bahrain decided he wasn't good enough for their team. I'm going to go with Alexei Lutsenko.
Okay.
Even though he can't sprint. Actually, I'm going to go with Schachmann. I'm going with Schachmann.
Fair.
If they put a climb at the start of this stage, a breakaway actually could have won. Stage 2 is from San Francesco al Campo to Santuario di Europa. This is where Dumoulin did huge numbies back in the day. 160 Ks, flat start for 93 Ks, relatively flat. Then medium
Nibali.
mountains. It was against Nibali.
He Nibali attacked, and then Dumoulin countered the fuck out of him.
Dumo moving on this climb. Anyway, medium mountains before like 5Ks, they do some Norton Summit rets, 5Ks, 5%, no flat before Europa, which is 12K, 6%. The reason there is a 4K, 9% section, but it actually is a good climb once you create that separation. If you're someone like Pogacar, who's like not 58 kilos, someone like Dumoulin, who's not, who's about 70, 72 kilos back in the day, once you have that separation for the easier finish, impossible to bring back. Here, it's very, very clear. UAE will control. It's a flat start, small breakaway, control the 3 climbs, set up Pogacar with Grosjean and Micah, and he will take probably 25 seconds and win the stage.
And a second stage win.
Yeah.
But I'm not allowed to pick Pogacar, so I think we're going to see the resurrection of, Jesus Christ, who the fuck is going to do this?
Ina Rubio.
No, I'm not.
That's the only sort of way I see someone else winning.
Luke Plapp.
It's something random.
Plapp will do it. He's done it twice this year. He probably won't happen in the same way.
It's a good climb for Plapp.
So I'm going with Plappy. He's gonna take the white jersey for some reason, and that's the vibe of the stage 2. Stage 3, we're looking at a relatively flat stage, starting in Novara, finishing in Fossano. It's 166 kilometers long, roughly. The last 2 kilometers are virtually straight, with only one sharp bend with 1,300 meters to go. I'm reading this straight off the website, by the way. Uphill segment from 4.5 to 3 kilometers. which climbs steadily at 5%. The final straight is 1.3 kilometers on a 9-meter wide road. So this is a pure sprint after some climbing, which Merlier versus Milan versus Coy, I'm going for Jonathan Milan.
I'm going for Coy, but I agree. I think to me it's a toss-up between, I like Merlier Benji, but in Tirreno, 2K 4% climb, he lost positions. And I also think Bert's not the best climber either. And I think if you're Trek and Visma, you put not Sturva, you put Dan Hola or Gebregsgebier or Jan Tratnik on the front on
Bajoli.
that 5% climb. Bajoli, he actually can do it. Yeah. And you make that very, very fast. FDJ should do it for Pithy as well. So I think they're going to use this to make it very, very hard for Merlier and his lead out. And so, yeah, I go Coy. Stage 4 is the same stage, 187 Ks from Aquaterme to Andorra, but not my home. It's got 1R, fake Andorra. There's a random climb in the middle. There's no climbs really in the first 45 kilometers to help a breakaway, so it will just be the Bardiani boys and Polti, who we forgot to say Polti's team, but they haven't announced it yet, and they're not taking Paul Double, so...
Big Gonzoli's here. Young climber, he's going to be okay. He can top 20 this race.
They're my new enemies, I'm afraid. Should have taken Paul Double. You didn't want to make an enemy out of me. This stage 4 also has 1,800 meters, 4.4% within 4Ks to the finish. I'm going Milan, so you have to pick Coy, Benji.
I'm going to go for... Nah. I'm going for someone complete. The problem is, if Milano was here with a sprinter, he'd win because he'd be the lead out. But Milano can't win as a sprinter. That's just the rule. So that's the problem I have with him. I'm going more for Phil Bauhaus.
Oh, yeah, because in Tirreno, he won that sort of stage.
Don't remember.
Dude, in Tirreno's the uphill finish. And
where everybody
all
crashed.
of a sudden, he was there. Yeah, but he was there with 3 guys doing the lead out into the last corner.
Fair.
He was going to beat Phillips anyway.
See? Bauhaus.
Bauhaus, that's a good pick, even though you didn't know why you were picking him.
Next stage, we've got, once again, a sprint stage, starting in Genova. Is Genoa, right?
Genoa,
I think it is.
On the coast, yeah, on the coast. Yeah.
Finishing in Lucca, it's 178 kilometers. It's got a bit of wobbles in the stage, but for me, this is a sprint stage. For me, this is the more pure sprint stage. Final straight of 350 meters on an 8-meter wide road. That means there's probably a corner with 400 meters to go, but I still think this is the one Merlier wins.
Yep, I agree. No, I do. Where'd you say that corner was?
350, 400 meters. Well, at least that's what the website says. Didn't check.
Christophe Laporte, Finesse.
Sure, buddy.
Let the wheel go.
Yeah. Okay. We'll allow it.
I actually, I believe in Coy for this. I think Laporte will hit him first to that corner, and then he'll be difficult to beat. But these 3 sprint stages should be very beautiful to watch in near the Liguria region on the coast. Stage 6 from Torre del Lago Puccini in the Viareggio to Rapolano Terme. It's 180 kilometers. This is a hard stage. This is actually like that length of stage. Okay, every fucking stage is flat start, which is unfortunate. 70 Ks of pancake flat, but then it is up and down all day. These punchy little climbs, including the Grotti 3.3 Ks, 5% gravel climb. There's also a flat gravel section of 4.5 Ks before that. So there's like 10 Ks straight of gravel, about 130 Ks in. Then there's some more at the end. There's another 2.4K gravel section. There's a 700 meter, 10.6% climb, 4 Ks from the finish for an uphill finish as well. I think this is, I don't know. I would say breakaway Benji, but then 70 Ks of flat. And I'm thinking, if you're UAE with the team you've brought, you can easier control this than a mountain stage. I'm going Pogačar.
And the climb with 4 kilometers to go has gradients up to 20%. That's straight up a Muro. So that shit is fine. Last 450 meters is uphill. 600 is 6%, if I recall. I'm saying when it comes to these gravel sectors, there's some hard ones in there. The first 2, Vidrita and Bagnaia, are from Strade Bianche. The Piavina one, the final one, is not from Strade. But I want to tell you, let's role play. For example, you're Pogačar, I'm Satan. So we're doing this again. Pogačar, think about it. You've got the stage. You've got gravel everywhere. 12 kilometers of gravel. Stuff you can work on. Got a Muro somewhere as well in the last 5 kilometers. wouldn't it be funny to see Romain Bardet and all these other GC riders squirming on the gravel as you try to take some time, my friend?
Brother, why would you need to get Satan in to tell Pogacar to go for a gravel stage win?
Who else?
He's himself. He's probably decided 6 months ago he wants to go for this. But
I think you're breaking the fourth wall by talking about Pogacar in third person.
Sorry. Okay, but Ineos, they have Jonathan Narvaez. They got really good rouleurs. Should I really isolate myself like that?
Yes, because the chance of someone like Arensman and Thomas, one of them, getting in trouble, if Arensman's still in GC, depending on what Ineos try to do, might be a way to split them up and have more control over the rest of the race.
But if I'm in a group with Alexei Lutsenko, that really terrifies me.
But Alexei Lutsenko will ride with you.
Good point. Thank you. Now I feel comfortable. I will go for this stage and win this stage. I mean, the alternative is Alaphilippe, Laporte, Pithy. There's a lot of strong guys. Bini that want to go in the breakaway.
How would Kian do on this gravel, mate?
I don't know. We're about to find
I'm
out.
Actually terrified.
That's the thing. I think this could be a good stage because there's so many strong guys who want to go on the breakaway, or even like a Simon Clark or Peleo Sanchez or Trentin, and you can't go to that final punchy climb with Pogacar. You can't. So it should be a good battle. Who have you got for the stage?
For the sake of Satan's argument, I'm going to go for Pogacar.
Well, I already picked him, but yeah, I'll allow it.
Oh, no. Satan is incorrect, and the winner of this stage is going to be
Mauro Schmidt's Ghost.
The Marquis from the breakaway.
The Marquis? No. Okay,
Pithy from the breakaway. Fuck it.
Yeah, Pithy's a good pick. The TT Benji.
The TT is stage 7. It is a TT that is not straight up flat, so that's something. We've got 40.6 kilometers, starting in Foligno, finishing in Perugia, which is basically the last 6 kilometers is a hill. I don't have the gradients, so I'm hoping you can find them very swiftly. Okay, tell me.
So hard climb, 1,300 meters, 10.7%. Then it's like false flat. Then there's another kick up of over 8%. The average is 6.6K is 4.1%. It's kind of like an Aldi version of the Domorcy climb, but actually the 10% part is quite difficult. With Ben told me like some steep bits at the start. So
yeah, up to 16.
It's a really, and 41Ks, that's a long ass TT. This is like a 50-minute plus TT. So,
bike change?
I mean, UAE, who knows with them, honestly. They lost the Romandy prologue because they did it on a TT bike.
They might ride this on a road bike completely. Nah,
no, they will not do that.
Slight exaggeration.
But even if Pogacar does change bike, he should be winning this stage comfortably. Like I think G will be second, but Pogacar is also a better flat time trialist than G, or rolly time trialist, and then you add a climb into the mix. People like Ganna, absolutely zero chance in my opinion. So yeah, Pogacar I think will clean this.
I was forced to say from my wife that we will see a decent performance by Will Barta on this time trial.
I see it. This is really like, we've had a few stages like Europa, but there will be big gaps here. 41 kilometers, just to repeat that, 41 kilometers. Domorcy was what, 30? And this has got a hard climb at the end. Lusari was not as long before the hard climb.
I think Sheffield might not be far off.
I don't know, honestly.
Will he get freedom to go for it?
Yeah, he should. I mean, come on.
He should, but
I mean, why should Ganna not Sheffield?
What, sorry?
Well, Ganna will get freedom to go for it, and he can't win it. Yeah, this is vital for GC. And I think Pogacar takes a big gap here. And Thomas will also... I then also think Thomas will take a nice gap to the next guys. Thomas also should be good on this TT, but Poggy's just different.
I feel like we might be underrating the advantage that the flat TT riders might be able to take in the first 36 kilometers of this time trial as well. First 34.
Yeah. But Jonas on the flat went quicker. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's also 7 days into the race, so recovery starting to
Yeah.
play in. Pogacar's better in that than the TT riders on paper. Then again, the TT riders have done well. They've probably worked the last few days for Ineos and so forth. So I don't know. I agree that Pogacar has a big chance, but I don't know what rider I picked, but I'm picking them anyway.
Stage 8. Now, this is one of the things I like about the route design. They have that huge TT, and then the next day, what could be a chaotic stage from Spoleto to Prati di Tivo. 152 kilometers. It's much more difficult before Tivo than we normally see in a 1 week stage race. It starts with a 7k 4% uphill, then straight into a 16 kilometer 5.6% climb. It's an up and down all day, including, they're not hard climbs, but you can introduce a lot of fatigue on these climbs. You know, if like Ineos did in Romandy, then a descent into Tivo, 14.7k, 7%. It's a 37 minute climb. Pogacar's record was broken by his teammate Ulisi 2.5 weeks ago on this climb in Abruzzo. Lutsenko went quicker, but this is much harder before. And I'm hoping that with the previous stages, with the TT losses, we get some realism from teams and they think we got to go in the breakaway here. We cannot go to Tivo with Pogacar just kicking our ass again. And so guys like Aronsman or whoever, or Aurelian Parapancho or Caruso, I really think the breakaway should win this stage. And see, okay, UAE, I don't know if he can. I mean, maybe he can, maybe he can't do it for 3 weeks, Domen Novak. So I'm going with Benji Rubio.
Ooh, interesting. I think just with the difficulty of the start of the stage, I do believe that a breakaway has an opportunity here. So it's breakaway versus Pogacar on this stage for me. And yeah, it's not the longest stage, but it's a hard stage. So this is also one of those stages, like you mentioned before, where like you say, Aronsman may be in the breakaway, but then again,
he'll be too close.
Does it matter? The problem internally with Ineos is that if he's gonna be too close, it's gonna be a reaction of, he's so close that let's see what he does on this climb and then decide on the next couple of mountain stages what do we do there. Which you keep postponing it, and it's that we're represented in GC fallacy. That's a new fallacy I just invented at the moment, but that's the idea I've got when it comes to that. So I'm thinking Aurelien Parapancho, those kind of guys in the breakaway. Michael Storer is my pick from the breakaway.
Actually, I would rather have Storer. That Storer really can win. Like Storer is climbing. He was fourth on their feet. He really is climbing well, and he will be in the breakaway, I think. And he's the kind of guy that is allowed in the breakaway. Like no one cares, and he's
going to lose a decade in the TT.
Yeah, but he actually really should win this stage. Oh, not should, but he can. Stage 9, Benji.
If you don't win the stage Storer, you're washed.
Yeah, brother, just win a Grand Tour stage. Just pin a dot. It's that easy. Stage 9, last stage before the rest day, Benji.
We've got I was going to say sprint stage. It's a Napoli stage, so Avezzano to Napoli. It is 214 kilometers long, so harder to control, but the first 50 kilometers slightly falls flat downhill. The last 3 hills in the race, which is basically the most notable ones, they're super easy. Like we're talking about 3 hills in the last 50 kilometers, and they come every 10-ish kilometers, pure guess. They don't look super difficult. There's too many sprint teams for this not to be controllable, in my opinion.
I agree. It looks like that sort of Simon Clark DeMarchi stage where they just got caught last year. It is going to be difficult to control a breakaway, even 5 guys like Abrahamsen, if he was here. But it's and it can be messy in Napoli too. Thomas crashed here last year or had a mechanical in the city circuit. But you're right, there's too many sprinters that want it.
I was looking at these sprint stages throughout the entire Giro, and every single time I saw a stage where there was a net downhill in dénivelé meters and altitude meters, I was thinking Alberto Dainese. But I'm going to keep my pick for now. I'm not going to say Dainese for now. I'm going to go with Milan for this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with... Nah, Jakobsen can't do it. I'm going to go with Caleb Ewan.
Okay.
Who we forgot. That brings us to the first rest day.
We forgot. No. He just ain't on my radar to win this stage.
Yeah, I'll go with you and just keep it different. But actually, I think it will be again between Milan and Coy and maybe Merlier if he survives the hills. Pompeii to Cusano Mutri, 142 kilometers. This is Yeah, not my favorite stage, to be honest. I think this is actually sort of the worst stage design you can get because it's a soft mountaintop finish where there's not going to be big GC gaps normally, but then no climb at the start to enable a strong mountain breakaway to form. The first 50Ks are flat. So you have the worst of both worlds. Yes, there are some climbs beforehand, 3Ks 8%, 6Ks 7.6%. It is rolly, but it's not that hard. And really, again, this is a stage that UAE could just say we want to win with Pogačar again because it is a fake news climb in 3 steps. There's 2 recovery periods in there. It's a long climb, and the last ramp is 6K 7%. But it's not that hard, so I don't know. I think, but it also could be the stage where everyone's like, "Oh, UAE will control," and then Davide Bay suddenly wins. But not my favorite stage.
Pogačar wins his 4th stage, in my opinion, on this day.
I'm going to go with Simon Kerr in the breakaway, but I agree with you.
Yeah, you're just picking different because you don't want it to be Pogačar for like 7 stages, which is logical.
Yeah.
Then we've got stage 11. This is the second day after the rest day. Folano di Valfortore is a start. Pretty cool name. To Francavilla La Mare, also a pretty cool name. 207 kilometers. The first half has some climbing in it, but is it hard enough to really form a difficult breakaway? I don't see that necessarily. So I'm still saying sprint stage, and I'm gonna go with, once again, might be net downhill, but the first portion might be too hard for Dainese to be able to sprint at the end of the stage because we gotta think that through. So I'm keeping Dainese for now, not spending my dimes on this one, and my winner is gonna be Olaf Koy.
I'll go with Merlier to win this one. Yeah, there's enough flat for him to recover. Stage 12, 194 Ks from Martin Sicuro to Fano. Long stage again, 194 Ks. Again, flat start. First 50 Ks pancake flat. Before rolling hills all the time. This is the classic hilly Bettiol stage win type stage. These climbs are actually quite steep too. The last one's 9% for 1,200 meters. Others have 7.5% with pinches. I really think this is breakaway. I would be surprised if UAE were this. Also, it's a flat finish, so I don't really see it for Pogačar. So I'm going to go from the break with Juju.
Fuck! I also wanted to pick him. That's devastating.
Just pick Laporte. He'll be the favorite.
No, I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. I am gonna pick. We haven't mentioned Alpecin at all. Quinten Hermans will probably be in play for this stage, also for the gravel stage. I'm gonna go with
Velasco.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with. No, I don't want to.
Scaroni.
I don't want to do it. I'm gonna go with. Fuck. I need to pick within 5 seconds.
Kevin Vermarker.
4, 3, 2. Alex Baudin?
Alex Baudin.
How did I end up
There's so
there?
many other names. There's so many other names. There was Schachmann. There was Vermarker.
There's so much choice. I panicked.
All these good one-day races. Bini even.
I panicked.
Yeah, well, you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, I think this is nailed on breakaway, frankly. This is like the De Gent stage he won against Bini and Van der Poel.
Exactly. So we're gonna have multiple decathlon riders breaking the strong breakaway riders. That's how I see it.
The PP brothers will be nasty in this stage in the break. All right, stage 13, Benji.
So stage 13 is a sprint stage. We're looking at a completely flat one this time around, 175 kilometers. But for now, I'm keeping Dainese in my pocket. So we're gonna go with Jonathan Milan for this one, not spending him here. My Dainese. So
you missed the guy for this one.
For a flat sprint stage.
Jakobsen.
I'm not having it. No.
This is the one for him.
I'm not biting with Jakobsen this Giro.
Okay. If he was going to win one, it's got to be this one. Stage 14 is the next TT, 31.4 kilometers from Castiglione della Stiviere to Desenzano del Gara. 31.4 kilometers. It's hilly. It actually isn't flat. It is up and down. This is not actually that good for Ghana. And I'm going with Pogačar winning the stage again. Even though you think it's flat, even though he will win this.
I'm looking at this profile and I think I missed the memo of this being hilly, but I'm going to go over to Sheffield.
Sheffield. This reminds you of the Stage 5 TT that Poggy won in 2021 Tour de France. Actually, let me have a look at that one.
I think the Giro profile is much flatter than yours. I'm looking at these altitude meters and we're talking about minimum
This is the
movement.
same as that Laval TT. He's going to win this. He beat Kung by 18 seconds and Van Aert by 30. But Thomas should be second.
242 altitude meters, bro. Am I the wrong stage? No.
That's hilly.
I'm not having it.
It's not flat.
It's flat enough for Sheffield. Even for Ghana, sorry, but on paper, in this TT, they should be better than Pogacar for me.
Sheffield better than Pogacar.
No, Ghana and Sheffield on this TT should be better than Pogacar, in my opinion.
Sheffield better than Pogacar.
On this TT, yes. I'm a Sheffield fanboy here in this Grand Tour. Come on, I've named it for 2 time trials.
Magnus Sheffield.
Are you
Brother,
roasting
Pogacar
Sheffield?
had FTP of 460 watts.
I'm just saying this TT is gonna be good for him.
He doesn't actually have an FTP of 460. That'd be ridiculous. But he,
Yeah, but
he
Sheffield nearly won the hilly TT in Romandy.
didn't. What did he?
No, he did almost one. I said he got second.
Yeah, with the good weather. How many? If Pogacar had the good weather, he put a fucking million. Anyway, I'm usually Pogacar hater. Roles reversed today.
I'm not a hater. I think he's won 4 stages by now, just not this one.
He gonna fucking cook Sheffield, man. Unless he's crashed or something. Stage 15 though. Bring us through.
It's like you lost it. You were like,
I short circuit. Sorry.
We've got a start in Manerba del Garda. I think that's next to the Garda Lake, based on that name. Pure guess. And we're finishing on Livigno Mortolino. That's like Motolino. That's like a ripoff of Mortirolo for some reason. Like the Pro Cycling Manager fake name version.
Brian Lara Cricket, you would know me. Brian Lara Cricket, yeah, they'd have like the names. They wouldn't have the license, and they'd have like
PCM too.
Yeah.
In the first 60 kilometers of the stage, we've got 2 climbs. The first one, not that big of a deal.
Thank
Cole
God.
Zeno is there, 13K at 6.6%. Patrick is happy. He's begging to Satan for the last 15 minutes to get a climb at the start of a stage, and Satan has approved. Why are we involving Satan in this thing? Like,
I'm not.
We're gonna lose so many Christian viewers.
Okay, go on with the stage.
In the second half, we've got some climbs as well. This was supposed to be the Forcola di Livigno finish, if I recall correctly. They then reduced the top. I don't remember why to Livigno. There was
because
a
they
reason
couldn't
for
go
it.
through Switzerland.
Oh yeah, because Switzerland didn't like them. Mortirolo has come in with about 70 kilometers, 80 kilometers to go. That's a hard climb, but it is. Mortirolo feels like a warm-up climb in this stage. I don't see any action happening on the Mortirolo from the GC group, despite liking the Mortirolo a lot. You know?
Yeah, I think this is a good stage. Like, it's got 3 really hard climbs and then another uphill finish. They couldn't go through Switzerland because they didn't get the permits to go on those roads, which, always handy to have those before you announce the route, I guess. So they have to go through just Italy, I believe. And it's a long stage, Benji, 222 Ks. And there's a lot of climbing in there that sort of you can't really see so well. It finishes high. They go over 2,300 meters over Foscagno. So, and then finish at 23.87. Even though it's 7.5%, you can do some damage on this stage. And this is really where, this is where I see probably not UAE doing anything. Why would you? If I was UAE, I go completely passive here. Also because this is the sort of stage Poggy has had problems with in the past.
Yes.
And then secondly, you don't have the team for it. And then thirdly, like the last thing you want if you're UAE is to be having just Micah with you in that valley after the first long climb. But then if you're Ineos, this is where you got to try something with Thomas. And then and this is the problem with maybe the Visma team, Benji, if Uterbrooks is close, Walter, Tratnik, Geesink, they can make it quite hard, I guess. Actually, yeah, they can, but there's no Kelderman to really push on Foscagno. So I really hope one of the teams, Ineos or someone, nuke this stage. Ineos is the team I see to do it. I don't think it will happen. I think the breakaway will win, and it will be like, I don't know.
What a
Yeah.
horrible pick.
Who's your pick?
El Condor is back.
Quintana.
Nairo Quintana with the steel chair comes in.
Quintana against Baudin.
When shit fuck off. When
Finish
shit goes
bottle
above
specialist.
2K altitude, I'm like, where's the Colombians on the start list?
I was looking for Rubio Cepeda. I'm going to go with Cepeda.
Actually a good
He's
pick
Ecuadorian,
because,
not Colombian.
yeah, but he is within that subset of Southern American people that could do well on altitude.
Yeah,
is
but
how
100
I,
million meters altitude.
how I'd say it. Are we underrating Michael Woods in breakaways?
No, we're not, because he really hasn't been good this season. But if he's in the break in good shape, then he's nasty, obviously, because he won that Tion stage. Altitude's no problem for Woods.
And I think there might be a little bit too much descent in the stage for me to be super comfortable picking the man. I am going to go for... Did I already pick? I picked Quintana.
You picked Quintana. I'm actually changing my pick.
Okay.
I'm going out to Brooks from the break.
Fair. It's possible. Although, I feel like... Is it me or did we go into the season saying the one climb finishing stages are the best ones for Uiterbroeks? Or did we say, was it the opposite?
No, I disagree. I think he's like Rodriguez. I think he needs a hard stage.
I don't remember. I need to look back at the Vuelta last year.
That brings us to the second rest day. Well, he's good on Tourmalet. That was hard. That was really, really hard
Yeah,
stage.
fair.
And then he got cooked on like Aaron Sal, maybe. I can't remember.
True.
Next, second rest day, stage 16. 203 Ks. So these back-to-back hard stages split by the rest day from Livigno, where these guys are going to be sleeping at altitude. I mean, I don't know. I need to see the hotel allocation, because if you get allocated a hotel 500 meters lower, that is a huge advantage. I'm not joking here. Like sleeping in the middle of a Grand Tour at 2,000 meters is not optimal. At least I don't think.
Can you
also invalidate the tests?
Can you install an altitude tent with lower altitude in your high altitude hotel room?
Oh, so like a hyperbaric chamber to like feed, or like wear an O2 mask to sleep. Are you allowed to take that? You're allowed to wear an O2 mask?
Why not?
This is a really, that is, the sleep's so high. So I don't know where the hotel allocation is, but really, they should not be. Someone will fuck up their rest day, I think. And then you start with 2 climbs out the gate, 15 minutes, 6%, both going over 2,200 meters to start the stage. Then a descent, then Stelvio, 20Ks, 7.5% to 2,760 meters. I hope they can do the stage. I mean, if it starts raining, Adam Hansen will be there, sure. But cynically, Benji, I feel like they put the Stelvio here at the start of the stage so that when it gets removed, it doesn't ruin the stage because they keep the finish.
Yeah, I think that's viable. I think this is breakaway stage.
Yep, breakaway should form either on the early climbs or Stelvio. Then 100K valley of flat. They had to put a climb in the middle. I'm sorry, but they needed to put a climb in the middle of that valley. They didn't. Then a stepped climb up to San Cristiano in Grode, where in the Dolomite, in the Tyrol, I think, in the German-speaking part. So my pronunciation is not as good. And then it's like a stepped climb up, and the finish is hard. 6K, 6%. Tre Chimi style finish, just not as high. You like break, Benji? Like Santi, like last year on Tre Chimi?
Yes, Santi's obviously not here, so I'm looking at the rest of the...
But that style.
Yeah, I'm looking at that style. I'm looking at someone like Pellizzari maybe for a stage like it. But reality is that there's going to be GC riders that already dropped out of GC by this point, so it might just be Tiberi fighting for a stage win on stage like this. So it's not impossible that is the thing we're looking at. So I'm going to go with Tiberi from the breakaway because he dropped out of GC.
Okay, Tiberi from the breakaway. I see it. There's some false flat in that final climb. Do we say, by the way, do we expect on that Livigno stage, we didn't really say, is Pogačar going to crack? I don't really see it, frankly, unless someone that paces really, really hard.
Well, first of all, Ineos would have to pace the entire goddamn stage for that to happen, which they have the riders to put pressure on teams. Pogacar, I don't know.
'Cause
It's difficult because he switched trainer, right? And he switched trainer from San Milan to Sola this year. And I don't know if that will have influenced these types of stages, whether his training has been worked towards specific angles, whether it's more base, whether it's more, I don't know. It's very difficult for as an external person to know what that training is going to result into. So I expect him not to crack on the stage.
Because Thomas and Bardet have dropped him in the last 2 years. People forget. Bardet dropped him on Grenoble. What? They
yes,
didn't.
but they didn't do the work.
Did Pogacar lose time to him?
Yes, but their team didn't do the work. So whether their team is strong enough to do the work, Bardet's team isn't.
No, Bardet's team is not. Ineos would have to do it. But yeah, Bardet and Thomas have dropped him. And also...
He dropped himself.
How so?
As in,
he decided to stop pedaling.
He was going backwards as they passed him.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. It's not
he opted not to follow them when they started going quicker.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, he was dead.
Yeah. But
it's
that
not
happened.
Like they attacked, if that makes sense. They were also dropped, but they were dropping slower.
Well, Bardet had actually attacked before Vingegaard.
Fair.
Stage 17, I've got the order wrong. You go, Benji.
Where's stage 17? Stage 17 is I'm guessing a mountain stage. It is a mountain stage. We've got actually a pretty good mountain stage.
It's a nice stage,
5 climbs in it. In total, it's a relatively short one, 159 kilometers, but there's going to be action all day, which is nice. From the get-go, we go into the Passo Sella. We've got 8.9 kilometers, 7.4% up to 11% max. That's the first 8.9 kilometers of the stage.
To 2240.
Yep, to the big nummies. We go downhill until 50k into the stage where we've got an intermediate sprint. So good luck, sprinters, getting there. And then we've got a climb that goes from 50k in the stage to 67k in the stage, the Passo Rolle. Not the steepest one, 4.8%, but it is a long one. 20 kilometers false flat in the middle, so fake news climb, which means a bit steeper at the start, flat in the middle, a bit steeper towards the end, so not exactly 4.8 the entire way. Then descent in the middle of the stage, a short climb, the Passo Gobera. That is a weird fucking name. It's like 5 kilometers. It doesn't look that hard, so just a middle thing before we get to the final 2 platters of food, which is the same climb twice. Passo Brocon, but I think from different angles. And first one is with about 40k to go, 13.3 kilometers, 6.5% up to 12%. So there's space to make moves on that. Bit of a flat segment on top before we descend towards the bottom of the final climb. Once we hit the bottom of the descent, we immediately go up to the top of the Passo Brocon again at the end. By the way, can we talk about on these profiles? There's a little eye icon in the middle of the stage in green.
Oh, yeah.
You know what that is? It is some... I don't understand why they do this. This is a Giro d'Italia GC, like a general classification, but in the stages up to that point in the stage. So a GC for breakaway riders. What the fuck are we doing here?
They probably pay Pogacar 7 figures to come to the race, and then they're like, shit, there's going to be no GC fight? Let's make a fake GC. Legit. It's called like the Intermedio or something. It's from like the 2000s in there. They bring it back. They got a new sponsor for it. I don't know if there's a jersey for it. Under the UCI rules, it might not be allowed. There's there's 3 intermediate sprints per stage. And like, I was trying to do the look at them for Koi to be like, okay, which one has Ciclamino points? Because already some have Ciclamino or both have Ciclamino, one have bonus seconds. I was trying to see, okay, which one Olive has to go for. And like, it made my head hurt. Honest to God. Yeah. I was like, just win the final sprints.
Just don't look at them. And then, like, I'm guessing the second or the last intermediate sprint in this stage has bonus seconds just before the final climb. So it's one of those things where which GC riders will go for it. Well, maybe Pogacar had from the Passo Brocon before that already, so he might just pick those up as he goes along. So,
but note that down. We got to, when we go through the jerseys, we got to say who's going to win the whatever that's called, the thing. Yeah, Luke will look up what it's actually called. Yeah, exactly. I
does it also exist in flat stages? It does.
Yeah. It's every stage, Benji. There's 3 intermediate sprints per stage. I'm being serious.
The stupid thing is that it's not in time trials. They should have had after 5 kilometers,
The time trial should count to it. So you see, imagine following Davide Bice head to head against like someone against Fiorelli to like 100th versus 80th.
Yeah.
I'd be locked in, man. I'd be locked
pay
in.
to watch that.
Well, we will pay to watch it.
Fair. Fuck.
This is actually a really nice stage, 4,000 meters climb. This is a raid stage with a climb so hard. And yes, you know, these climbs go high. Like, I really like it. I think this is where someone should try something. I'm going with Roman Bardet.
I'm going with Damiano Caruso. At this point, I've said that every single rider.
Caruso, yeah, it is a Caruso.
Yeah. At this point, I've said that Caruso and to be able to both follow out of GC. Reality is that I do expect the Bahrain rider to end up in the top 8.
Bahrain always win week 3 in Grand Tours. Bahrain always win week 3 break.
Actually, I think they won't top 7 this race because they didn't bring Wout Poels, and I hope. I don't want to wish them karma, but
Poels would have cleaned this stage.
Yeah.
Like,
I low-key feel bad about Poels not being here.
Yeah. Stage 18 from Vieira di yeah, I know who you're going to pick. Di Primiero starts at 681 meters, finishes at 11 meters in Padua. So we know who Benji's picking. It's a flat sprint. He's picking one man.
It's net downhill, so it starts higher than it ends. So, it's Dainese Day, baby. Alberto Dainese. 3 Giro stage wins in 3 years. He's doing it. And to be honest, Arvid de Klein would have won 5 already, but they're sending Dainese, so he's taking this stage. Woo!
You think Arvid de Klein, brother? You go and Stelvio get in the car. you wouldn't be here. Jakobsen will. There'll be is Merlier still here?
De Klein would have won on Stelvio. Sorry, Merlier. He should have dipped out already, man.
That's the thing. That's why Dainese, like, we won't see him for 2.5 weeks, and then he'll pop out. Like, what are you doing here? And that's what he does every Giro. So you're right.
Dainese versus Tobias Lund Andersen is this stage for me.
Yeah.
And Milan, but
the next stage 19, from Montegliano to Sappada, 156 Ks, pure breakaway stage, in my opinion. Flat start, and then these medium mountain miscs climbs, and then the last climb's 10K, 4% before like 6 Ks of flat and uphill kick. This looks identical to the stage Dumoulin and Cohen-Bowman were in the breakaway almost, or Schmidt and Bowman in 2022. It's like a Cohen-Bowman-Schmidt type operation. I'm going to go with Jan Tratnik. He beat O'Connor in a breakaway like this.
Oh, I'm missing a stage in my notes. I don't have the stage in my notes, so I don't know who's going to win this.
It's forgettable.
I'm going to go for...
Pick Alaphilippe.
I'm going to go for Julien Alaphilippe. And then we're looking at stage 20, which is the Monte Grappa stage. We've got the first half completely flat, and then the second half has twice the Monte Grappa climb. 18.1 kilometers, 8.1%. That's actually harder than I remembered.
It's hard,
with 14% max. This is a fucking hard stage.
Yeah.
But Pogacar wins this stage in Maglia Rosa.
Really?
Yeah. They're going to control until the first Monte Grappa, and then Pogacar is going to do an 80-kilometer solo in the Maglia Rosa for me. Just for me.
I don't think this stage is that good for him.
I still think he's going to win. Like,
this reminds me of the double Ventoux stage from the Tour de France in 2021, where Ineos actually paced all day. It has 4,500 meters elevation, super hard, like long climb. It's also a false descent. I'm about to do the thing. Ineos paced all day on that climb. Pogacar had a wobble. How much time at the top would he have lost to Carapaz? 0 seconds.
He ended up with them in the group.
Yeah, they caught him, but he only got dropped by Vingegaard.
Yeah.
He didn't get dropped by Carapaz.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, on paper, against Vingegaard, this stage and the Livigno stage are the ones where we're like, ooh, Visma Lease bike with a proper team, with Vingegaard as leader, can crack him on those stages. But on this stage, I don't see anyone on the start list that cracks Pogacar here.
Yeah, I agree. But I don't think it's so dominant. I think it's a group of three sprint with Bardet and Thomas and O'Connor, and he wins the sprint.
I do want to add before we continue, when we do our podium predictions, we've both said Pogacar wins like 5 to 6 stages. So if we don't have Pogacar as the victor when it comes to GC, it would be kind of weird. He'd need to have a bad stage somewhere. But if Pogacar wins, by how much will he win is also something we need to answer.
Yeah. For sure. We'll get to that in a second. Stage 21, we'll finish the Roma stage. They've got some Pave. Cavendish won this last year. Could be, and that was his first win for his biggest win of the year. I'm going to go with Jonathan Milan.
Fucking hell. I'm going to go for Jakobsen's in the car. Merlier's in the car. Dainese got his win, so he's gone again for another year. Bauhaus,
yeah, not bad. Oh, Caden Groves has been confirmed, so maybe we haven't picked him, but I actually don't think it's so good. For Groves, it's not the best start list, you know?
He's not a pure sprinter.
Yeah.
He wins against Vuelta, B-Tech, C-Tech, D-Tech sprinters, but he ain't going to do it against this field.
All right, time for our predictions. Benji, we'll start with the white jersey. Who have you got? It's the favorites are Arensman, Outerbrooks, I think is Tiberi.
Yep.
Tiberi, sorry, is the favorite, and then there's Lipovitz as well. Who you got?
Plappy is also involved in that competition. I think Pellizzari, Piganzoli, Sheffield. No, I'm not doing it. The winner of the white jersey is going to be Arensman, in my opinion. I think it's going to be Outerbrooks versus Arensman in the race, is what it is in my head, because I don't trust the consistency of Tiberi, and I think Arensman is more proven than Outerbrooks this year. So I'm going to pick Arensman over Kian Outerbrooks in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he should be the favorite, in my opinion, Aronson, for this. But
you can pick the same here.
I pick Aronson. Yeah, I think Aronson will just. TT's too good, and he's good on the long climbs. I like him for it. Maglia Azzurra, the King of the Mountains jersey, previously won last year by Thibaut Pinot. How could I forget? And then it was Bowman maybe the year before, and
yes.
So it's really who, and Bouchard the year before that. So it's who gets in the breakaway the most. Stora.
Alaphilippe. I had Stora initially, but I'm dreaming. I'm in Alaphilippe dreaming mode. I'm sorry, it's happening. Ciclamino is next. Last year, Milan won it. This year, we've got plenty of competitors, and I feel like in the Giro, it's always leaning more towards who will win the most sprints and who will be the closest in the actual flat sprint stages, more than picking up points at the intermediate sprints. So Merlier versus Milan versus Koi versus Biffy Binyam don't have a chance, in my opinion. Gaviria not good enough in sprints right now. Ewan don't see it. Jakobsen not consistent enough. Dainese definitely not consistent enough. So I'm going with Milan again.
I'm going with Koi because he's the second favorite, and I think he has the best final man, and he's very consistent. But it'll be between those two. I think Merlier might dip out. The Intermedio jersey, Benji, the breakaway jersey.
Fuck me. Because like we got to think through it. What stages will have the most time?
It's the sprint stages.
They'll take time there, yes. Those kind of rides will, but also those riders might be dropped on the first climb in a mountain stage.
True, yeah.
So those riders might actually be trying. I don't understand how this will work. Like,
dude, they can barely do the TT timing correctly, let alone this.
On stage 15, it's at the foot of the final climb. So after Mortirolo and so forth. So we're looking at a decent breakaway rider to be able to do this. And
yeah, because those guys are in the Gruppetto.
So I'm looking at the list of riders that is in this race, and I think the winner of that jersey, who will likely go in the breakaway quite a few times, who has.
Are you sure it's the GC time taken, not just bonus seconds for GC?
I think it's GC time taken, right? Otherwise, we need to make that a classification on our end. If it's not that, because that's fucking funny.
Yeah, someone can track that for us.
Exactly. So I think it is going to be. I think it's going to be a strong breakaway rider, and then I'm looking at. I don't know.
I'm going Alessandro Tonelli.
You're going for the weak breakaway rider, I see.
No, he won Valenciana from a breakaway, actually.
Yeah, he's not bad. I'm gonna go for. You got to give me a second here. This is the most important classification we have in this race. So I'm willing to bet my life on this one, and I will go with Jefferson Alexander's. No.
Malcolm in the middle is riding for Polte, Frankie Muniz.
Okay, This is such an interesting classification, though, if you think about it.
No, it's not. Just pick a Polte rider. Just throw a dart at it. Lonardi or someone. Or Piganzoli.
3, 2, 1. I'm throwing right now. And it finished, shockingly, on El Patron.
Juanpe. Okay, yeah. He should get some freedom to go on breakaways. That brings us to second last classification, which is the Smith & Wesson jersey for young promising GC riders that like to shoot guns. Favorites Tiberi and Lipovitz. Head-to-head GC. Who have you got?
I've got Lipovitz. No, I've got Tiberi. Even though I said he would fall out of GC, I'm going Tiberi.
I got Lipovitz. I think Lipovitz, he could do like a Felix Gold type operation.
Sorry, but how do we classify this classification? Is it just GC, or is it also their ability to hit a target, a moving target, that is?
They have to do a biathlon race on the rest day in Lavinia.
Because reality is, Tiberi is better at moving targets, while Lipovitz has like a fixed target.
The biathlon ones not move.
No.
I don't know. I don't watch that. Some European stat padding Olympic stuff. So overall GC win. Podium. Who you got?
I've got in spot 3, Geraint Thomas.
3?
Yeah, because on paper you'd say 2, but I'm high on Ben O'Connor, so I've got Ben O'Connor in second, and I've got Pogacar winning with an advantage of 8 minutes and 51 seconds.
8 minutes?
Yeah. I actually doubted to go over 12 minutes, so...
Nah, it's impossible to win by that much, I think. Although, no, it's not.
Is it?
It's possible. Third, I have Uiterbrooks. Second, I have... Actually, third, I don't have Uiterbrooks. I think I come fourth, actually. I got Bardet third, O'Connor second, and Pogacar first. I think he'll win by like 5.5 minutes. I think
Thomas not on the podium?
I just think something... I don't know.
Are you thinking, the clock can't strike that many times in a row when it comes to Thomas hitting a Grand Tour in form?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't expect... Yeah, he probably will, to be honest. But I kind of went... Bardet and Bock in second and third is more of a hard pick. G is actually the more complete GC rider than them. I acknowledge that. There's a reason he's second favorite. But Bock and Bardet...
Yeah.
And
it's a TT as well,
like them. Yeah, it is the TT. But there's some hard stages, and also decathlon, they really will go for it. They got some cojones. But yeah,
and Bardet
I think
dares to attack.
Yeah, both those guys actually will have the legs to go for it. But Poggy, I think, will take a lead. He'll be 3-4 minutes ahead by, pretty quickly. And then I think they will take the foot off the gas, let Ineos, Decathlon, and DSM fight each other, control stages for UAE, and let that podium battle play the race out, and then he'll win by 5.5.
Yeah, I just see that there are some stages where, despite the breakaway winning, which I do believe quite a few breakaways will win, that he still will be able to gab the others in the GC group, and he's not the kind of guy that will just sit with them until the finish line when he knows he can take some more time. So that's why I think he'll gradually expand this time throughout the race anyway, regardless, and that's why 8 minutes 51.
Yeah, I mean, I look back at stage, I don't know, what happened in the Tour de France 2021 there. He had 5 minutes straight away, right? And then on Teen, he still attacked again the next day to take another 30 seconds when he didn't have to, really.
And in the last 2 weeks, he attacked, but he had competition, if that makes sense. So...
Yeah, he didn't really attack, though. He waited for the sprint.
Yeah, but him attacking here with that attack would result in people dropping, in my opinion.
Yeah, because Carapaz and Jonas were better than the other guys you see here.
they're not bad. O'Connor will try and follow because O'Connor is good. Thomas will put his engine on, will try and follow as well. But I just see Pogacar being too good.
I agree with you. So yeah, he should really win the race. I mean,
but now if Pogacar doesn't win the race, who wins?
But if he doesn't win the race, G.
O'Connor.
I think G would win. I think Decathlon's still there. They're not quite ready yet to be managing, really defending a jersey in terms of tactics and all that.
Fair.
So, does Pogacar have a wobble, Benji? That's maybe a better question.
I don't think he will this race.
Like the Ventoux. I'm talking the Ventoux. Not even losing time, just a wobble.
Like, we're talking bar bad luck and crashes. I don't think he'll have a wobble.
I think he will.
Fair.
I think it won't matter. I think it won't matter. I think he might not even lose time. He might not even lose time from it.
8 minutes and 51 seconds in a wobble.
I mean, that's the thing, right? He literally did the I'm gone, I'm dead last year. He still finished second in the Tour. He still finished second. His teammate was third. Like, so really, like,
yeah.
You can't have a bigger wobble than that on Col de la Loze. So,
multiple days.
Nah, but I think he will have a wobble somewhere, but it won't matter.
On a sprint stage, because Naesen will beat him.
You say that, but actually, they are playing with fire a little bit if they keep Oliveira with Milano and just Pogacar's freelancing with Bjerg. Yeah. Bjerg ain't good in that role.
To be honest, in the Tour de France, Pogacar's always worn himself in the sprint stage.
Yeah, but he was in lucky, Benji. He
True?
nearly crashed out in Denmark. He nearly broke his hand.
Yeah.
But you're right. He's obviously much better at it than, say, Roglic or Kelderman.
Yeah.
Is there anything else to discuss? Should we give now that we've gone through the stages, are you more hyped? Do you think there's some sneaky good ones in there that you're excited for or not?
First of all, let's be honest. Regardless of the race being entertaining, we're going to have fun covering this race anyway. Because we can talk shit about whatever happens regardless of what happens. So I don't think this podcast is going to be boring as a consequence. That's one promise I have to the viewers, in my opinion, at least. But outside of that, I also think that it's still cycling. It's still the Giro. So I'm still quite hyped. I'm still quite hyped for a Grand Tour. I look forward to being in Andorra covering it with you. Whether we're going to do live coverage of some stages with reactions, etc. Maybe, as in like live reactions, live stream. What was it called again? Watch-alongs. Are we going to do that?
Yeah. I was thinking of doing it every day, even though I'm always the one that's like, I'm too tired. I don't want to do it.
The last 2 years, I was like, let's try it a few more days. Luke also, let's try it a few more days. And you're like, yeah, I'm tired. So this year, there's no fucking way you're doing every day.
Yeah, but last year, there was Roglic going for the W, but okay, we'll do it. We'll do it more. Don't worry. You can hold me to that. I'm looking forward to it. Particularly the first two stages look really, really good.
Yeah.
When Julian Alaphilippe rides away, we'll be like, holy, oh my God. I mean, I'm excited for some of the stages. It all depends how they race it. Listen, could they have had a proper long, hard mountaintop finish somewhere added in? Yeah. But maybe we get to week 3. We're like, thank God these are some clear breakaway stages. Otherwise, we watch Poggi win again. So,
yeah.
Swings and roundabouts. I'm excited for it as always. Thanks very much for listening in. Give us your picks for all the jerseys down below. Make sure you track our stage picks. We're always correct. 100% strike rate, as you know. And check out Pillar Performance through the link down below to get 15% off with code ROUGE for your first order. And we'll be seeing you on Saturday afternoon with our recap or maybe even watch along of stage 1. Till then, ciao.